From the bright lights of Old Trafford to the cold walls of a courtroom, Brandon Williams was once living every young footballer's dream. Now he could be facing a nightmare that ends with him behind bars. But how did it go wrong? And why does Brandon Williams' tragic path mirror other Manchester United academy stars? How many more players, how many more times are we going to be talking about this and no one make a big deal out of it? As a Man United fan, I feel like this topic needs to be talked about a lot more. This just isn't about Brandon Williams. This is about Jesse Lingard, Marcus Rashford, Paul Pogba, Mason Greenwood. You could go back as far as saying Ravel Morrison as well. Failing Manchester United stars on the pitch. This happens in football. This happens all of the time. But these players completely falling off needs to be questioned. What is going on? Do academy stars need more protection at big clubs? Do academy stars need to have somebody looking over their lifestyle, in fact, and not building them up to be something that they're not too early? This is FUTV United TV. Please drop a like on the video as well and get your comments in on all of the topics that we're talking about here today, namely the players and the worrying signs and the trend, which I do believe is stopping and does look brighter, but is still there and still concerning with a little bit of the today footballers as well. And I'm talking about players at Manchester United here specifically, nobody else. This could be brought up and obviously made a story of at other football clubs as well, I am sure. But I want to talk about Manchester United in particular, with it being the United channel, obviously. And this is something that I have always had concerns about, and I just feel like it isn't talked about enough. And I want to get into it in this video, so please do get involved, get your comments in, and let me know what you think about this. Because you could bury your head in the sand, and there are fans that do that. They don't want to hear a bad word about Manchester United, and Manchester United's academy in particular. Manchester United throughout the years have always brought through young talent, developed their own teams, and have been incredibly successful. And that's all people want to talk about. No one wants to deal with the dark side, and the dark side has been there for a long time. Even going way back to Sir Alex Ferguson and them glory years of the best young academy players that this club has ever seen, and nobody can deny that. There were problems. You look at Ravel Morrison, who never made it through into Manchester United's academy. This was a player that was playing alongside the likes of Jesse Lingard and Paul Pogba that never even seen a Manchester United first team shirt simply because of his attitude. And back in them days, Sir Alex just cut them out. And that was it. That's how it was dealt with. Paul Pogba got a taste of it, but then wanted it on his own terms. Sir Alex, all too happy to cut Paul Pogba out. There was no one bigger than the club. And that mentality probably got United through plenty of years and was maybe seen as the right way to go. If they got too big, then they moved on. Nobody was bigger than Sir Alex. Maybe that was Sir Alex's problem as well. But past that, and when the man himself, Sir Alex, did leave Manchester United, this is when the problems really started to pop up. You could look at what one name I mentioned there, Jesse Lingard, made it through, smashed it under Jose Mourinho. Paul Pogba coming back the same, and all of the misdemeanors and issues that they had. And now look where they are. Paul Pogba off the back of a drug ban. Jesse Lingard playing his footballing career, going on Diary of a CEO, going in that interview about how Manchester United operated under Ed Woodward and how badly he thought he was treated. Look, whatever opinion you've got of Paul Pogba, of Jesse Lingard, there are always two parties involved. It always takes two to tango, and there are stories on both sides, and these players will back themselves on this. But one thing for certain is going off these stories, and they can't all be made up and false. Even as much as you want to hate on a player or say that he was no good for Manchester United, I obviously have had that opinion about a few players myself, but I will always listen if the players were willing to come out, which they never do because of the rules that are in place, obviously, it would seem. But if there is a structure in place that looks after these players from the start, then surely we wouldn't be coming down to these moments where players are doing interviews with big celebrities and players are kicking off at Manchester United because they're not getting their own way. And it does seem like Player Power FC is taking over. How did it start? It started with United. And the perfect example of this was Mason Greenwood. And now Manchester United were just going to allow him to come back in without even thinking about the reaction from the public and the fans. And this showed for me exactly how Manchester United were being run. You listen to Jesse Lingard and you can pass him off as a balloon brain, guy who thought he had made it, clearly wasn't good enough for Manchester United, blah-de-blah. But he does have a point. Manchester United and the way they were run, from Ed Woodward to Richard Arnold to John Murtough, and how Manchester United dealt with their players and some of their young players. And we've all heard the stories. And this, I think, has had a big impact on some of the Manchester United players. Giving them the big contracts like Brandon Williams, 65 grand a week wages for Brandon Williams. It's absolutely ludicrous. At the time, he'd done nothing. Jesse Lingard probably earned his way in a little bit more and was a little exception to the rule. Paul Pogba brought back in and spent a fortune on after being let go for free. This was Manchester United and how they were run. They give the players the world. Mason Greenwood, like I just said, was the example of everything that is wrong at Manchester United. I'm not saying that because of the way Manchester United treated their players, Mason Greenwood did what he did. Obviously, this was an extreme case, but you can see what is happening here. You go forward from Mason Greenwood, how Manchester United thought they could just bring him back in, and the backlash from that showed you how detached this football club was from the reality of the real world. It really was. It was an embarrassment to the club, and it's no surprise now with Ineos in situ and a new football structure in place, we can see them sunnier skies again for some of our academy players too. But even in the modern day, you've still got elements of what was there before and what was wrong in how Manchester United treated their young academy players. Whether they gave them a lot and you thought that was wrong, whether they didn't get enough or get a fair crack at the whip and you thought that was wrong, there was no right way of doing what Manchester United did in the last 10 years with these players. It's an absolute disgrace. Brandon Williams, up in court, could be facing jail for 2 years for speeding offences. Being caught sucking on, what was it? I think it was helium, was it at the time? Or laughing gas, whatever it was. Another issue there. Gallivanting around, living the life. You could say Marcus Rashford to a certain degree is doing the same, but not at the same sort of extent as what Brandon Williams was. But again, a player that thought he could do whatever he wanted. And this is where United have now come up to a point where we are, which is trying to get rid of players and force players out of the door, because people have come in now to Manchester United and have seen what is going wrong at the football club and are baffled. And nearly the whole fan base has reacted this way. And we're all shocked a little bit as to how much is going on so quickly. But all that this does is show Ineos coming through, football people coming into Manchester United and running the club properly, and everything that has been found out from doing that is now being outed by United. It's a shock to everybody's system because we didn't expect so much so soon, but it does show how much was going wrong at Manchester United through the last 10 years. It's an absolute disgrace. It really is. All of them players I've just mentioned, all the way up to Marcus Rashford right now, and hopefully United can cling on to a little bit of something from Marcus Rashford. But look at what Manchester United have managed to get out of these players. And then you've got players like Scott McTominay, who has done everything he possibly could to stay at Manchester United, give his heart and soul to the football club, coming out in interviews talking about how he treated other players coming in at Manchester United, waiting for his chance, controlling what he did, wanting to prove a point and prove everybody wrong, loving on the haters because that's what fueled him. There are different characters in this world, and obviously some can handle pressure better than others. The conversation about quality of player and whether they're good enough is always going to be there, but you can never, ever compare the likes of a Scott McTominay's mentality to some of the other Manchester United academy players. Never wanted mega money, never kicked up a stink, was as professional as they come. And that, I feel, is just a little taste of what is to come at Manchester United in terms of the academy going forward. And not everybody's going to be the same. I know that. But even if you look now, look at the situation developing with Garnacho and Kobe Mainoo. This is completely separate to what I've just talked about. But you can see certain little issues creeping in the mentality and what they feel they are able to do. As in the agents can do for them, by the way, because they are representing these players. We've seen the petulant side of Garnacho already. He's made it big. He's a superstar. He's scored one of the best goals that we've ever seen as a United player. All of a sudden, he thinks that he should be in the team. Well, this is how it looks from the outside anyway. But the proof is there before that all United fans should be worried about certain players thinking that they've made it before they have. Mainoo's contract, 180 grand a week. Little things like this. Just a little reminder that Manchester United need to curb a lot of what was wrong before still in this football club. It's not over yet, and issues will always be there. But look at the extreme circumstances just alone at this football club compared to others. The names that I've just rolled off there, they're not just football problems. They're a culture and a lifestyle problem created from Manchester United's academy players and how they were treated at the football club for many years. You can say that I'm wrong in saying this. You can say that I'm probably over-egging it and it isn't just about the academy. But why is it happening to so many of our superstars? Why? These are some of the best players that could have ever played at Manchester United. And they're all failed. They're all failed, and we're clinging on to maybe making a little bit of money for the likes of Marcus Rashford right now, who should have been a superstar for years to come at Manchester United. There is an issue, or was there an issue? I feel like it is changing. I just wanted to talk about that and bring that up because I think everybody is just ignoring it and doesn't want to talk about it. But I think it is a real problem at Manchester United. Let me know what you think. Get your comments in below on any of them. Who has been the worst case at Manchester United in terms of failed academy players? What was the biggest problem at this football club? Get your comments in below. Please hit that subscribe button up on your screen right now and make sure that you give the video a like, and I'll see you in the next special. Cheers, everybody.